I'm sending this book, Boglehead's Guide to Investing, to my oldest grandson this week. He just started his career, and to be honest, I'm a little jealous of the opportunities he has in front of him. While this book was written nearly 20 years ago, and some of the numbers and the graphs are outdated, it's still relevant, maybe more so today than when it was written. Now, I'm not here to do a book review, but I think part one, Essentials of Successful Investing, is probably one of the best outlines for a successful life and future retirement that I've read. Most people will see this book as a book about money and investing, but I've realized it's actually a book about time and freedom. Choosing a sound financial lifestyle early will provide the financial independence to choose how you wish to live your life later on. You see, I mostly did what Bogleheads tell you to do, not necessarily from reading this book, but from my dad, who ingrained in me his investing philosophy, which was to save 10% of what you make and try to always pay yourself first. Very conservative, but still pretty sound advice. Now, I made a lot of investing mistakes, but I was disciplined and I started investing early. I never made a ton of money, but I benefited from the magic of compounding interest that allowed me to choose the work I enjoyed and the ability to walk away from work over 3 years ago. I realized that while I was a keeper or compounder of my money, one of the lifestyle choices we'll talk about in a minute, I had no plan for how to be a keeper of my purpose. I found out the hard way that retirement is a lot more than just saving enough. While financial independence is very important, it must also come with a purpose. And I'm still working on the purpose, as I've talked about in previous videos. However, I think some of my purpose as I've gotten older is to share my years of experience and wisdom with those just starting out. I'm lucky enough to have 5 wonderful grandkids to which I can give them what I guess I'll call Pawpaw's advice. So enough of the small talk. So for my oldest grandson, Braden, and for anyone else staring at the start of your career, I want to break down the 3 types of people this book describes. Because which one you choose to be today may determine whether you will be free or just unemployed 30 or 40 years from now when you retire. I call them the leaks, the treadmillers, and the compounders. First, we have the leaks. In the book, they call them the borrowers. These are the folks who are effectively paying a poverty tax to the bank. Every time they swipe a card they can't pay off, they're leaking their future wealth. Leaks aren't just spending money. They're spending their time before they've even lived it. They're trapped in a cycle where they have to work tomorrow just to pay for the sandwich they ate yesterday. Debt, especially if paying for out-of-control spending, is the greatest destroyer of success and happiness. It creates a constant pressure of anxiety that never lets you truly rest. Next are the treadmillers. These are the consumers. On the outside, they look successful. They have the new SUV and the latest tech. But if their paycheck stopped tomorrow, their world would end on Friday. They're running at 10 miles per hour just to stay in the same place. There's no floor beneath them. They're one layoff away from disaster because they've traded 100% of their labor for 100% of just stuff. Now the treadmill feels like structure and it looks like success, but it's actually confinement. You aren't working because you want to, you're working because you're scared to stop. Finally, there are the compounders. The Bogleheads call them the keepers. The people aren't necessarily rich, but they are wealthy. They realize that a dollar invested today is worth $10 of freedom later on. They try not to overspend and always try to pay themselves first. They buy the index funds, stay diversified. They ignore the noise of the market, and they let time do the heavy lifting. So by the time they reach my age, they don't have a job. They have a choice. So here's a graph showing the power of compounding. If you invest $100 a week for 40 years at an average annual return of 8%, the numbers are truly staggering. Total principal invested, $208,000. This is the seed money that you've actually put in. Total interest earned, a little over $1.3 million. This is the harvest, which is created by time. And you end up with a little over $1.5 million. This is a perfect illustration of the compounder in action. If you're a leak or a treadmiller and spend that $100 every week, you end up with a huge pile of receipts. But if you're a compounder and save that $100 a week, you may end up with a $1.5 million legacy. Being a compounder is what allows you to retire early. It gives you the freedom to choose the life you want to live without the financial worries and struggles of the leak or the treadmiller. So let's wrap this up. To my grandson, start as a compounder on day one. Don't let your wealth leak and don't get stuck on the treadmill. Build your mountain early so that when you're my age, you're working because it gives you purpose, not because you're trying to pay for a sandwich you ate 30 years ago. Book's on its way. Love ya. Paw Paw out.